Sheila stood before the smudged mirror in her tiny apartment, smoothing down a simple blue dress that had been washed so many times the fabric felt thin as paper. Her reflection stared back, dark circles carved beneath her eyes, hollow cheeks that spoke of too many skipped meals, hands trembling as she applied the last of her cheap lipstick. The apartment pressed in around her, peeling walls the color of old bruises. A single light bulb flickering overhead, casting shadows that danced like ghosts. On the counter, bills stacked in a mountain of red ink. Overdue, final notice, account suspended. The smell of yesterday's instant noodles lingered in the stale air. Through the paper-thin walls, her neighbor's baby wailed, the sound mixing with the distant buzz of traffic. She twisted the cheap ring on her finger, Anderson's promise, spinning loose because she'd lost so much weight. The humid evening air clung to her skin like a second layer of shame. Tonight was supposed to be special. Tonight, Anderson was taking her out. Maybe tonight he'd finally propose properly. Maybe tonight, everything would change. Walking toward the restaurant, she passed Aurora Global Corporation. A massive banner blazed against the twilight sky. Lucky draw for married couples. Win cash in a mansion worth trillions. Crowds swarmed the entrance. Couples laughing, holding hands, wearing clothes that cost more than her monthly salary. Her phone buzzed. Rent overdue. Final notice. Pay within 48 hours or face eviction. Her hands shook as she stared at the building. The loan she'd taken for Anderson's business, his dream he'd called it, was drowning her. She worked double shifts until her feet bled, skipped meals until hunger became white noise, transferred every spare cent into his account with messages that said, "I believe in you." But something inside her, something desperate and brave and breaking, made her push through the crowd. She filled out the form with trembling fingers, attached their upcoming marriage documents he'd promised they'd register next month, and whispered into the evening air, "God, just once, help me." Then she turned and walked toward the restaurant, hope fluttering in her chest like a dying bird. She didn't know that in 30 minutes, her entire world would shatter. What Sheila is about to witness will destroy everything she believes about love and loyalty. If you've ever trusted the wrong person, drop a like and comment where you're watching from, because what happens next at that restaurant will leave you speechless. The walk to the restaurant blurred through memories Sheila had tried so hard to ignore. 6 months ago, her at the government office, eyes burning under fluorescent lights at midnight, processing endless paperwork while her supervisor slept in his chair. The overtime check was deposited. Her phone lights up. "Babe, the investor needs another 5K. This is it, I promise." 4 months ago, sitting alone in their rented house, eating plain white rice with salt while scrolling through Anderson's social media. Photos of him at restaurants she couldn't afford. "Business dinner," he'd explained. "Gotta look successful to attract investors." 2 months ago, finding the single diamond earring while vacuuming under their bed, holding it up to the light, watching it sparkle. Her heart had stopped. But Anderson had laughed when she asked, "Oh, that? Must be from my sister's visit. You know how scattered she is." She'd believed him. She always believed him. Her mother's voice echoed from somewhere deep in her memory, from before the cancer took her when Sheila was 16. "Love means giving everything, Beta. A good woman sacrifices." So Sheila had sacrificed. She'd given everything because she believed that's what love required. That if she just gave enough, loved hard enough, made herself small enough, she would finally be enough. Her deepest desire had always been simple: to be loved unconditionally, to matter to someone the way her mother had mattered to her father. Her deepest fear, the one that woke her at 3 a.m. in cold sweats, was that she was fundamentally unlovable, that there was something broken inside her that made her easy to leave. What she didn't know was that she'd survived more than most people ever would. She'd put herself through college after her mother died, working 3 jobs while her father drank himself into oblivion. She'd built a life from nothing. She had a strength inside her that she'd forgotten existed. But Anderson had seen that strength, and he'd weaponized it. On the surface, he was charming, ambitious, always talking about his business ideas with the kind of confidence that made people believe. In reality, he was a manipulator who'd never held a real job, who saw Sheila as an ATM with a heartbeat, who'd been cheating with Valentina, a wealthy marketing executive, for 6 months. Sheila's coworker Mira had warned her repeatedly, "Girl, love shouldn't leave you broke and exhausted. Love shouldn't make you smaller." But Sheila had always defended him. "You don't understand. He's under so much pressure. I need to support him." The texts told the real story. Sheila to Anderson: "Sent the money. I believe in you." Anderson to Sheila: "You're the best, babe. Can't wait to marry you." Anderson to Valentina: "She's so naive. Just a few more months and I'll have enough to start fresh with you. She actually thinks I'm starting a business." The signs had always been there. The earring, the late nights that smelled of expensive perfume, the way he flinched when she touched his phone, the fact that she was shrinking, losing weight, losing confidence, losing herself, while he seemed to glow brighter every day. Sheila had noticed everything, and she'd ignored everything. Because acknowledging the truth meant acknowledging that she'd been a fool, that she'd given her whole heart to someone who saw it as currency. Now, standing outside the restaurant in her worn blue dress, clutching the cheap ring that wouldn't stop spinning on her finger, she pushed open the door. Her heart pounded with hope. Fragile, desperate hope. She was about to step into a nightmare she'd never wake up from. Sheila pushed through the restaurant door, the warmth and chatter hitting her like a wave. Her eyes scanned the dimly lit space, searching for Anderson among the sea of candlelit tables. Then she found him. Her breath stopped. Anderson sat in a corner booth, bathed in golden light. His hand covered another woman's hand on the white tablecloth. He was leaning close, whispering something that made the woman, beautiful, polished, dripping in diamonds, throw her head back and laugh. The woman wore a sleek black dress that probably cost more than Sheila's entire wardrobe, and there, glinting in her ear, was the matching diamond earring. Sheila's knees buckled. The floor seemed to tilt beneath her feet. She walked forward as if moving through water, each step heavy and unreal. Anderson turned. Their eyes met across the restaurant. He didn't flinch, didn't look guilty, didn't even have the decency to appear surprised. "Babe," he sighed, checking his watch. "How long have you been there?" Sheila's voice came out broken. "Who is she?" Anderson exhaled like she was inconveniencing him, interrupting an important meeting. Something snapped inside her. She lunged forward and grabbed his phone from the table. She knew his password. They'd shared everything, or so she thought. Her hands shook as she scrolled. Hotel bookings under his name and V. Martinez. Intimate photos. Text messages that made her stomach turn. Can't wait to leave her. She's so pathetic, doesn't even know. Just a few more transfers and we're set. The phone slipped from her trembling fingers and clattered onto the table. "How long, Anderson?" Her voice rose, cracking. "How long?" Anderson stood slowly, not bothering to lower his voice. The restaurant began to quiet, conversations dying as people turned to watch. "You know what? Thank God you found out." He straightened his collar. "I'm exhausted pretending." The words hit her like physical blows. "Look at yourself, Sheila." His voice carried across the silent restaurant. "You're broke. You dress like you're going to a funeral. You embarrass me every time we go out. I only stayed because you kept giving me money for my business, which, by the way, I spent on Valentina here. On nice hotels, nice dinners, the life I deserve. You were useful. Now you're not." Sheila's hand moved before her brain could catch up. Slap! The sound echoed through the hushed restaurant like a gunshot. Her palm stung. His cheek bloomed red. She ripped the cheap ring from her finger, threw it at his chest. It bounced off and rolled across the floor. "Keep the money." Her voice was steel wrapped in broken glass. "I'd rather be poor than be you." She ran. Behind her, Valentina's laughter rang out, sharp and cruel. Sheila burst onto the street, mascara streaming down her cheeks in black rivers. The humid night air felt suffocating. People stared as she stumbled past, the girl in the worn blue dress crying like her world had ended, because it had. She collapsed onto a bus stop bench, chest heaving with sobs that tore through her entire body. Her phone buzzed. Through blurred vision, she read, "Congratulations! You are the Aurora Global winner. Please come to our office immediately." She stared at the screen, numb, broken, unable to process that somewhere in this nightmare, something impossible had happened. $100 billion. A mansion. A new life. But she had no husband to claim it with. Sheila stood on shaking legs and began walking toward Aurora Global, her worn shoes scraping against the pavement. She didn't know this call would change everything, or that in 2 hours she'd meet a dangerous stranger who would become her salvation. The Aurora Global building blazed like a palace of glass and light. Sheila stepped through the revolving doors, still in her tear-stained dress, mascara smudged, hair disheveled. Confetti cannons exploded. Balloons fell from the ceiling. Officials in crisp suits applauded, their smiles wide and corporate. Congratulations! A woman in a red blazer rushed forward. You've won $50 million and a luxury mansion worth trillions! Sheila stood frozen in the middle of the lobby, unable to process the words. The fluorescent lights felt too bright. The applause was too loud. Everything felt surreal, like she'd stepped into someone else's life. The woman in red guided her to a desk covered in official documents and champagne flutes. We just need to finalize a few details. Please return tomorrow at 10 a.m. with your husband for final verification and the key handover ceremony. The word hit Sheila like cold water. My husband? Yes, of course. The woman's smile remained professionally bright. As per the lucky draw rules, married couples only. Your application showed upcoming marriage registration, so we'll need both parties present to finalize the prize distribution. Sheila's voice came out hollow. We're not married yet. That's fine. Your documents indicated imminent registration. We just need him here tomorrow morning to complete the process. The woman handed her a glossy folder. Congratulations again, Mrs. Kumar. Sheila Kumar. The name felt foreign in her mouth. Sheila walked out into the night, the folder heavy in her hands. The reality crashed over her in waves. She had no husband. She had less than 24 hours. Without this money, the loan sharks would come, the ones she'd borrowed from when the bank denied her, the ones with dead eyes and quiet threats. She'd lose everything. She'd be destroyed. Her mind raced through impossible solutions. Begging Anderson? Humiliating. And he'd demand half, probably more. He'd hold it over her forever. Hiring an actor? She had exactly $43 in her account. Not enough for bus fare, let alone a professional pretender. Telling the truth? Instant disqualification. They'd give the prize to someone else. Running away? The debt would follow her anywhere. There was no escape. She walked through the rain-slicked streets, defeated. The drizzle started, light at first, then heavier. She didn't bother opening an umbrella. She'd left it in the restaurant, in her rush to escape. She didn't notice the black Mercedes until it was too late. Splash! A wave of muddy water from a pothole drenched her completely, soaking through her dress, her hair, her skin. The cold shock of it made her gasp. The car screeched to a stop. A man stepped out, tall, broad-shouldered, with striking Korean features, in an expensive black suit that probably cost more than her yearly salary. His eyes were sharp but kind, concern creasing his forehead. I am so sorry. His accent was slight, his voice deep and genuinely apologetic. Something inside Sheila broke. Not shattered but transformed. Grief, rage, recklessness, a wild, desperate courage she didn't know she possessed. She looked at this stranger, this beautiful, concerned stranger who just ruined what was left of her dignity, and thought, why the hell not? She smiled through tears and rain, manic, desperate, fearless. Are you married? He blinked, clearly confused. No? She grabbed his hand, warm, strong, startled. Congratulations, you are now. Get in the cab. She flagged down a passing taxi with her free hand. The man should have refused. He clearly had somewhere important to be. The suit, the Mercedes, the phone buzzing insistently in his pocket. But this woman, soaked, wild-eyed, absolutely fearless, was the most interesting thing Kang Joon-ho had encountered in years. He got in the cab. As they sped toward Aurora Global, Sheila explained everything in breathless bursts. The lottery, the betrayal, the 24-hour deadline, the impossible situation. Joon-ho listened, fascinated, a smile playing at his lips. You just kidnapped a stranger for a fake marriage? Do you have a better solution? He laughed. Genuine, surprised, alive. I really don't. They arrived at Aurora Global at 9:58 a.m. Sheila's hands wouldn't stop shaking. Inside, officials waited with cameras and paperwork spread across gleaming desks. A woman in a crisp navy suit approached with a warm smile, then paused, glancing at her tablet. Mr. and Mrs. Kang, your marriage certificate came through overnight. Congratulations on your recent registration. Sheila's breath caught. She turned to Joon-ho, eyes wide with questions. He gave her hand a gentle squeeze, a silent message. Trust me. Cameras flashed as they signed documents. Sheila played the nervous bride, leaning into Junho's solid presence. He played along flawlessly, his hand protective on her waist, his smile gentle and genuine for the cameras, every movement screaming devoted husband. When the officials handed over the mansion keys and a certified check for $50 million, Sheila's knees almost buckled. The weight of the keys felt impossible in her palm. One more thing for our social media, an official chirped. A kiss for the cameras? Sheila froze, panic flooding her chest. Junho leaned close, his breath warm against her ear. Trust me. He turned her gently, cupped her face with one hand, and kissed her cheek, lingering just long enough to look real, his lips soft and warm against her skin. For Junho, that moment changed everything. Her warmth, the faint jasmine scent of her hair, the relieved exhale against his neck. Something cracked in his carefully guarded heart, something he thought was sealed away forever. Outside, the morning sun felt too bright. Sheila burst into hysterical laughter tears, covering her mouth with shaking hands. We did it. Oh my God. We actually did it. She turned to him, gripping the check like it might evaporate. I'll give you half. I'll transfer it tonight. You saved my life. He stopped her with a gentle hand on her wrist. Keep all of it. What? No, I can't. You needed help. I helped. That's all. Something in his quiet kindness broke Sheila's last wall. The tears came, real ones this time, not hysteria, but release. She told him everything. About Anderson, about the years of loans and sacrifices, about being told she wasn't pretty enough, smart enough, good enough, about the shame that followed her like a shadow. Junho listened without interrupting, without judgment, his dark eyes focused entirely on her. When she finished, he said quietly, You will never suffer again. I swear it. They sat on a bench in the corporate plaza, the check and keys between them, like promises. Why did you help me? She asked. You don't even know me. Because you reminded me what bravery looks like. Most people talk about what they do. You act. Silence settled between them, comfortable, warm. What do you do? She asked. For work, I mean. You got a marriage certificate overnight. That's not normal. Junho's phone rang. He ignored it. It rang again. A text flashed across the screen. Boss, the shipment is secured. Sheila saw it. Boss? He met her eyes and she saw the decision he was making, to trust her with the truth. I'm not just a businessman. I run an organization, a powerful one. Some people call it organized crime. I call it protection and trade. I'm dangerous, Sheila. The kind of danger that gets people hurt. She should have run. Every survival instinct screamed at her to run. Instead, she asked, Did you hurt me? Never. Will you? Never. Then I don't care what you are. A black SUV pulled up, tires crunching on gravel. Men in dark suits emerged, their expressions urgent. Sir, we have a situation. Junho's entire demeanor shifted, shoulders squaring, jaw hardening, eyes turning cold as winter steel. This was the man people feared. But when he turned back to Sheila, his eyes softened. Come with me. You're safer with me than alone. The prize announcement is public. People will come looking. She looked at his outstretched hand. She'd spent years making herself small for a man who'd never protected her. Here was a dangerous man offering actual safety. She took his hand. As they drove away in his convoy, bulletproof glass gleaming, Sheila realized she'd left one dangerous situation for another. But this time, she wasn't afraid. The weeks blurred together in a kaleidoscope of danger and unexpected tenderness. A rival gang attempted an ambush outside a restaurant. Bullets shattered the night air. Junho had shielded her with his body, taking a graze across his shoulder. She'd watched blood seep through his white shirt while he stayed calm, issuing orders in Korean, his hand never leaving hers. Paparazzi swarmed them everywhere. Who is the mystery Mrs. Kang? Where did you come from? How did you meet? Their cameras felt like weapons. Anonymous threats arrived daily. Photos of Sheila with red crosshairs drawn over her face. Messages typed in cold calculation. She's your weakness. Kill her, and you kill him. Pretty wife. Shame if something happened. Junho moved her into his mansion, a fortress of steel and stone. Guards patrolled in shifts. Cameras monitored every angle. Bulletproof glass turned windows into barriers. He taught her self-defense in the gym, his hands gentle as he corrected her stance. If I'm not there, you fight. Promise me. But between the danger, something else grew. The first night, Sheila couldn't sleep. She sat by the floor-to-ceiling window, knees pulled to her chest, watching the city lights blur through tears. Junho found her. He didn't speak, didn't ask questions. He simply sat beside her on the cold floor. After a long while, she whispered, "I'm scared to trust happiness. Every time I do, it gets ripped away." He took her hand carefully, as if she were made of glass. "Stay awake with me." They watched the city lights until sunrise painted the sky pink and gold. When she finally fell asleep against his shoulder, he didn't move for hours, his arm going numb, afraid to disturb her peace. Weeks later, caught in a sudden rainstorm walking back from a late dinner, Sheila laughed, really laughed for the first time in months. Her dress clung to her skin, her hair fell loose and wild, her eyes bright again. Junho stopped walking. He stared at her like she was the only thing in the world. "I have fought wars," he said quietly, rain streaming down his face, "but this, loving you, this scares me." She stepped closer, rested her forehead against his chest. "I'm not scared anymore." Their first real kiss was slow, careful, full of promise, rain falling around them like a blessing. When Sheila caught a fever from exhaustion, Junho canceled every meeting. He stayed by her bed for 3 days, feeding her soup, wiping her forehead with cool cloths, holding her hand when she shivered through fever dreams. In her sleep, she whispered Anderson's name once, then cried, a broken sound that tore at something deep inside him. Junho's jaw tightened. He whispered back, "I'm here. He can't hurt you again." When she woke and saw him still there, days-old stubble darkening his jaw, exhaustion in his eyes, she started crying. He pulled her into his arms without a word. One evening, she noticed the scars across his back as he changed his shirt, raised, brutal lines that spoke of violence and survival. She traced them softly. "Did someone do this to you?" He nodded, unable to meet her eyes. She wrapped her arms around him from behind, pressed her cheek to his scarred back. "Then we both survived. Let's live well." He turned and kissed her forehead. No one had ever said that to him before. On the balcony one night, under stars and city lights, she finally said it. "I think I love you." For the first time in his life, the feared Korean boss looked nervous. He held her face in his hands. "I loved you the day you pulled me into that taxi." But while they built something beautiful, Anderson was drowning. Valentina had left him for a tech CEO. His business collapsed under investigation. He was broke, humiliated, destroyed. Then he saw the news. Mystery billionaire wife stuns nation. Sheila Kumar wins trillions. Jealousy consumed him like poison. He began planning, not reconciliation, but destruction. The charity gala blazed with crystal chandeliers and champagne. Sheila stood at the entrance in an elegant emerald gown that hugged her transformed figure. No longer the hollow-cheeked woman in a worn blue dress, but someone who'd learned she was worthy of beautiful things. Photographers swarmed like locusts. "Mrs. Kang, this way!" "How does it feel to be married to the most powerful man in the city? Tell us your love story." Junho's hand never left the small of her back, protective and possessive. When reporters pressed too close, his security detail moved like shadows, creating space. Inside, among Seoul's elite sipping expensive wine, Sheila felt almost peaceful until she heard the shouting. "Sheila! Sheila!" She froze, champagne flute halfway to her lips. Anderson pushed through the crowd, drunk, disheveled, his expensive suit wrinkled and stained. Security moved to intercept, but his voice carried across the marble floor. Junho's hand tightened on hers. "You don't have to face him." She set down her glass with steady hands. "Yes, I do." They met in the center of the ballroom, everyone watching, phones recording. Anderson stumbled forward, reeking of whiskey and desperation. "You cheated on me." His words slurred. "You were seeing him while we were together. You planned this whole thing, the lottery, the money, everything." Sheila's voice came out cold as winter steel. "Get away from me. You used me, made me look like a fool." His face twisted with rage and self-pity. "I loved you, and you were planning to leave me all along." The slap echoed through the silent ballroom, sharp, definitive, satisfying. "You loved my money. I gave you everything, my salary, my savings, my dignity. You gave me nothing but shame and lies." Her voice didn't waver. "Now get out." Security grabbed Anderson's arms, but he thrashed free, stumbling toward the exit. 20 minutes later, Sheila stepped onto the terrace for air, her hands shaking with adrenaline. The night was cool and quiet, too quiet. She didn't hear Anderson approach until his hands closed around her throat. "If I can't have you," he hissed, breath hot and toxic, "no one will." The world tilted. Her vision darkened. She clawed at his hands, gasping. The pressure vanished. Junho appeared like death itself, silent, lethal, terrifying. He had Anderson by the throat, lifted against the terrace wall, feet dangling. Guards materialized from shadows, weapons drawn. Junho's voice was glacial, each word a threat. "Touch my wife again and you disappear from this earth." Anderson sobbed, choking. Junho released him, let him crumble to the ground, but he wasn't done. Over the next 72 hours, Junho orchestrated Anderson's complete destruction. His financial team exposed Anderson's business as investor fraud. Dozens of people scammed, money laundered through fake companies. Lawsuits flooded in. Bankruptcy declared within 48 hours. Security footage of Anderson's affair with Valentina leaked across social media. Valentina herself posted a scathing expose. "He used me too. Spent another woman's money on our relationship. He's a professional con artist." Anderson became a viral joke. Memes, think pieces, public humiliation. Sheila pressed assault charges. Junho's lawyers, the best money could buy, ensured the maximum penalty. Anderson faced jail time. The restraining order was signed while Anderson sobbed in a police station, his expensive lawyer having abandoned him when the money dried up. Before they took him away, Sheila faced him one last time. "You said I was nothing, that I didn't know how to look good, that you were ashamed of me." She stepped closer, and he flinched. "Look at me now. I'm not the woman you broke. I'm the woman who survived you." Junho leaned close to Anderson's ear. "You taught her she was worthless. I'll spend every day proving you wrong." Driving home through the city lights, Sheila asked quietly, "Do you regret the revenge?" Junho glanced at her, moonlight catching his profile. "Do you?" "No. I regret ever loving him." She took his hand. "But I don't regret you." That night, Junho led Sheila to the mansion rooftop. She gasped. Rose petals created a path through flickering candles. The city sprawled below them, a galaxy of lights stretching to the horizon. Soft music played from hidden speakers. "We started as strangers in a taxi," Junho said, his voice steady despite the emotion in his eyes. "Then fake spouses playing a role. Then something real, something I never expected to find." He knelt, producing a velvet box. Inside, a ring caught the candlelight. Simple, elegant, chosen specifically for her. "Marry me again. Not for money, not for protection, not because we have to." He looked up at her, completely vulnerable. "Marry me because we found each other when the world broke us, and somehow we became whole together." Sheila's tears fell freely. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." The wedding happened 2 weeks later, nothing like the fake registration at Aurora Global. Small, intimate, no press, no performance, no cameras except one photographer Mira brought to capture memories. Just Mira dabbing her eyes in the front row, Junho's most trusted men standing as witnesses, and a sunset painting the sky in shades of amber and rose. Sheila wore a simple white dress, not designer, not expensive, but chosen because she loved how it felt against her skin. Junho couldn't stop staring, his eyes following her every movement like she was the only thing that mattered. When they exchanged vows, there wasn't a dry eye present. "You found me when I was lost," Sheila said, her voice clear and strong. "Protected me when I was weak, loved me when I couldn't love myself. You showed me what real love looks like, not control, not ownership, but partnership and choice." Junho's voice was rough with emotion. "You taught me that strength isn't just power, it's surviving and still choosing kindness, still choosing to trust, still choosing to love. I will protect you in every lifetime." Sheila smiled through tears. "Then I'll choose you in every lifetime." The kiss was soft, tender, and real, witnessed by the people who mattered, sealed by genuine love. That night, a rival boss, one who'd never accepted Junho's growing legitimacy, attempted one final attack. Armed men breached the outer perimeter of the mansion. Junho handled it with cold efficiency. Sheila never saw the violence, never heard the confrontation. He simply disappeared for an hour, then returned to where she waited, heart pounding. He held her close, his suit jacket discarded, shirt sleeves rolled up. "It's over. We're safe now. I promise." Later, they sat on the balcony wrapped in blankets, no guards hovering, no threats lurking. Just two hearts beating in sync. I was so afraid to trust happiness, Sheila whispered against his shoulder. You don't have to be afraid anymore. I've got you. The months that followed brought transformation. Sheila established the Second Chances Foundation for women escaping financial abuse, providing legal aid, emergency funds, job training. Her first client was a woman whose story mirrored her own. Jun-ho restructured his empire, legitimizing operations, keeping the protection services that helped people, but eliminating anything that caused harm. Some old associates left. Others respected evolution. They traveled Paris, Tokyo, small villages in Italy, healing, laughing, discovering the world together. She taught him to cook. He burned everything but kept trying, filling their kitchen with smoke and laughter. He taught her to dance. She stepped on his feet constantly, and they laughed until their sides ached. One afternoon, driving past Aurora Global, Sheila noticed the lottery banner was gone. She squeezed Junho's hand. I came here desperate and broken. He glanced at her, love evident in every line of his face. And now? Now I'm loved. Really, truly loved. They drove toward their new house by the sea, simple, peaceful theirs, ready for the future they'd built together. 6 months later, Sheila stood before a mirror again, but this mirror reflected someone completely different. Her skin glowed with health. Her eyes sparkled with purpose. The hollowness in her cheeks had filled out, replaced by the softness of someone who ate regular meals, who laughed often, who slept without nightmares. Her foundation, Second Chances, had helped 300 women escape abusive situations. Women who'd been told they were worthless, who'd given everything and received nothing, who'd believed the lies whispered in their ears. She'd helped them find lawyers, secure emergency housing, access therapy. She'd held their hands and said, "You deserve better," because she knew what it meant to finally hear those words. Her loan was paid off, every cent plus interest. She'd walked into that loan shark's office with Junho's security standing guard and handed over the check with steady hands. She wore a sundress she'd chosen simply because she loved it, bright yellow, soft cotton, nothing expensive or designer. She'd chosen it for herself, not to impress anyone, not to prove anything, just because it made her feel happy. The morning ritual had become her favorite part of the day. Junho made coffee now. He'd learned after burning the first dozen attempts. They sat on their private beach, the house by the sea they'd bought together, feet tangled in the sand, watching waves paint themselves against the shore. Do you ever think about that day? He asked, his fingers intertwined with hers. When you pulled me into the taxi, every day, she smiled. Best kidnapping I ever committed. Regret? Never. Sheila had learned she was never too much or not enough. She was exactly who she needed to be. She'd learned that love doesn't hurt, control does. That real love makes space for growth, not demands for shrinking. She'd built a life where she was valued, not used. And most importantly, she discovered she was whole, not because of Junho, but because she'd chosen herself first. Junho had learned his own lessons. That power isn't just fear, it's protection used wisely. That love doesn't make him weak, it makes him human. That Sheila didn't save him, they'd saved each other. He'd learned to be gentle without losing strength, to build instead of destroy. Sheila handed him an envelope sealed with wax. What's this? The mansion deed. I'm transferring half to your name. We won it together. We own it together. He stared at her, speechless. You don't have to. I want to. Partners, equals. Always. They walked along their beach at sunset, the sky bleeding orange and pink. Sheila stopped, watching waves crash and retreat. I used to think I needed someone to complete me. And now? Now I know I was already whole. You just reminded me. Junho pulled her close, pressed a kiss to her temple. Then we're both whole, together. She'd entered a lottery desperate for money. She'd won something far more valuable. She'd won herself back. And she'd won a love that chose her, not for what she could give, but for who she was. Their silhouettes merged against the sunset. Two survivors, two fighters, one love.